So hello, my name is Radim. Originated in Czech Republic, going through several countries. I'm a software developer in corporate companies, in bigger companies, right now in Vienna. Let's talk, and I have prepared some talk about TypeScript. Some motivation around TypeScript is there was like jQuery thing. At the beginning, it was like big boom. It simplified the manipulation with the DOM via JavaScript. Then came Vue as a tool that simplified the web application development. And then at the end, it's up to you as a developer to simplify your app. And I believe Vue is one of the tools right now that can help you do that, along with the TypeScript. And let's look at the advantages which you can use right now. So, how many of you actually, hands up, tried TypeScript before with the Vue? Anyone? TypeScript. Okay, TypeScript with you. Okay, a few of you. So I will start with some basic stuff, how you can set up your project at the beginning, and showing some examples then from this simple setup to more advanced. There is something like Babel with the flow, which is also useful for this kind of stuff. Okay. But in my opinion, it requires more configuration than TypeScript. TypeScript has one config file in your project. That's all. What you should check first anyway, if you are developing with the Vue, is the style guide. So read the style guide first to avoid any wrong patterns while you're developing. And let's look how we can use TypeScript with the Vue. The syntax is similar. There are actually 3 ways how you can use TypeScript. TypeScript brings you some type safety in your objects and Vue objects and methods. Vue extend is one way to do this, where the syntax is quite simple, or similar to syntax you use in Babel. You have a data function, you have a methods, and you can use computed properties like you would do in Babel. You are just using a function extend here. Other way is using Vue component options. This is kind of this object here, which you can import from Vue. Again, the syntax is quite similar to what you know. You have a data function right here and methods right here. But what you're additionally doing here is you're writing something like interface to describe the data for you and the methods for you. So every time you use some variable here in a method, it knows the shape of the object. So you get the full IntelliSense and type safety here on the method level. So if you are here, let's say on click method, and you would access the message here, he would know this guy is a string. And as soon you would try put number in this message, it would raise an error. Small trick here is, as I said, the component options. So we were here at the component option. This is a second way how you can write a Vue object, your Vue class. And third one, probably the most famous one, is the over Vue class component, which is an official class which can be used in a Babel, ECMAScript, or TypeScript. You can see there is some special decorator called component. In this case, you are importing it from Vue class component library, which is official one. Up there, you have kind of slots for your components, properties, and so on. And right here, you have a class that uses those. Sorry. Just right here, you have a class that is using this component decorator. As you can see, there is no data function anymore. You don't need to define this. This will be automatically handled for you. You see there is no declaration of the methods now. It's automatically handled for you. So any method you write here, it will be automatically in a slot with the methods. This guy is an example of lifecycle hook, which are there. There are special names like created, mounted. So if you write it like this, he will understand automatically that this is a lifetime lifecycle event. You can also create a computed property like this, where you put a getter get keyword in front of it. So it will automatically create for you the slot with the computed properties. So it's quite handy stuff. If you like to write less and produce more, this is what this Vue class component is doing for you out of the box. So now there is official support for TypeScript in Vue CLI. You can create actually now project with the TypeScript with only 2 commands. So first one is that command that installs the Vue CLI, and second command is create your project. So you just call Vue create my project, and then you will get into wizard that I will show in a minute how it looks like. There is also another way you can download templates from official repositories from Vue, like Vue.js templates. And running it actually it's quite easy. You just download it and you just after installing, so using npm install, you can use command npm run serve or npm run dev. So what happens if you now download the Vue CLI and you create a project over Vue create my project? You will get this screen where you can choose which features you want in your new project. You can choose TypeScript. If you leave the TypeScript option, it will create for you automatically a project that is in ECMAScript, so Babel. If you choose TypeScript, it will be TypeScript only. You can choose if you want router or UX. You can choose if you want testing framework or not. So I recommend it for you. If you didn't try yet, you can try it right now. It's only 2 commands you need now to get there, and you can start experimenting with those. What it creates for you, this is the structure you get after those 2 commands. It will set up for you. There is also a question inside while as a second step, if you want the configuration file separately or if you want it all in one file. So in this case, I put the option that configurations should be all separately. So this is the part down here where you have configuration for TypeScript, packages, and CSS, and so on. In a full option where you use CSS, router, and stuff like that, you will get the structure with the store automatically served for you. So from there, it's just one command running npm run serve, and it will run the application that it created for you. So you can from there start experimenting. For experienced users, you usually need then afterwards, when starting bigger project, customize the settings. So this is something you should look at then later on, how the config stuff works. So by default, it's using Webpack. So if you guys know or you are familiar with the Webpack, it's automatically there. In this case, it's kind of a global installed. And if you want custom config, as you probably in a project in a bigger project requires, you can put it also via option through Vue config. There is a way how to do this. So let's use this example that it created. It created for you some simple hello world example. In this case, it's using a library called Vue property decorator. It's extended library, which is right now, I would say, semi-official. It's using the component from Vue class component, which is official, and it's adding some more decorators over this simple component. So as you can see right now, right here, there is a decorator called prop, and this, if you put decorator in front of any variable that you create in your Vue class, it will be automatically transformed into property. So this is kind of handy that you only mark with some decorators the properties, or leave the variables as they are. This is also handy stuff. In the previous examples, if you would be using the only component, which you can use also, you saw the property was defined in a brackets right here as a parameter of this decorator. So there are 2 ways actually doing it, but I think the decorators helps you to write less, because in a classic way, using only Vue class component, you would have to define kind of the property twice. So in this case, it's saving you one step of writing again, so your component is actually smaller at the end. So this is how looks, for example, the Vue router. If you set up project with this TypeScript, nothing really fancy here. The imports looks the same, like when you're using Babel. This is how it created Vuex store for you. Again, nothing special. You can now extend it. There is some better way or alternative way how you can write the Vuex store. We will see that in a later example. What tools you should know? For developing, you can use Visual Studio Community, or you can use Visual Studio Code. There is a plugin called Tweeter, which brings also, among other things, TypeScript IntelliSense into your Vue single file component files. So if I get back here, let's say I'm here in this component, I would normally, because this component contains template, so as the TypeScript, I would normally don't have or wouldn't have TypeScript IntelliSense here. But since I'm using this plugin, it will give me shape and methods and everything that he knows about this. So this is the work which is connected to also to this Tweeter plugin, which is kind of must to have in Visual Studio Code. But there are also other plugins which you can use, like snippets and TypeScript and stuff like that. Handy stuff when developing. So when you get to real world, why would you need the TypeScript at all? The question is explained or cleaner if you have some domain objects and you would say, okay, I need to somehow describe my domain and I want to know what the shape of my objects are, and these objects are kind of complex and I want to describe as much as I can. So here you can see on the left part a simple example of how you can define some blog post object. There is some category as a complex object as a property on this post. Sorry. Let's go back. So one post has a title and a content, among other things, as an ID and count. You can use object-oriented way now in a TypeScript, which you can use now to extend the functionality of your objects, which is kind of fun now. So first thing, you map the domain somehow, and second thing, you can now import this domain into your Vue component and start using it. So in this example, I created here a component which has a variable inside called post, and putting the type behind. So from now on, every time you are doing something, some operation or accessing some property of this guy, of this post, it will offer automatically for you every object that is defined here. So how it works? Now, if you access this property, it's offering you title, content, ID, and all the stuff that you previously defined on those objects automatically. You can also now access automatically complex objects that you have in your complex object. So post has a list of categories. You can access the categories, and even on the category itself, it offers you all the properties from the category. So you don't have to look anymore back or going back in your code what was the name of the property, because it's telling you all the way. And there is no case now, if I save it and I would compile this program, there is no way he would allow you to put the wrong name or wrong property, because he knows all the properties, all the objects you are using. So you're 100% type safe, and this is the trick which or feature that TypeScript brings for you out of the box. So it's IntelliSense and type safety and using complex object. In this example, let's imagine that you have now application that wants to display some posts, and you created some component called post.vue, and you want to reuse this component now. And there are two ways. This error is quite common. You can now use this let's say this component exists and it's called post.vue. You want to reuse it on two places now in your program. Let's say you have a list with the posts, and let's say you want to display last five of them. So you will create some view for where you're using this component, and let's say there is a link on each of these on this post where you can access it actually in a detail where it brings you to the post itself. So the second place where you would use this component is actually in a detail. So this stuff happens often where you're trying to use property when you are using actually in a component only the post as a property. This is not enough to do. You have to always create kind of shadow property of this guy. If you are using it, as I said, on two places at the same time in your program. One way is to use it in a list. Another way is use it as via view router. Let's say there is some path post/61. So this way you ensure your component will be kind of safe from this error. Another example, using prop and emit. Let's say you have a post there, and you want to delete the post somewhere. So you create a link which takes post ID, and you want to emit this event in a list that you deleted this post. And the list itself is displaying those posts here. and wants to fetch the data again because you deleted one of the posts. So this is how you do it in a TypeScript. Again, you're using the component decorator, and using over this, you get all the variables now on a Vue instance, which one of those is the emit method. In this case, I created the onDeletePost event, which is then used on a post list, which is another control which is using the post. And you can see the syntax is quite the same here. You create the add onDeletePost, post deleted, and this is how you can react on this. So, and again, you can see the parameter here right now as ID is a number. You can access it, and you can do, let's say, it can be complex object or anything you want. You can access all the properties and all the operations that this object offers. So again, this is type safety, and this is how you mark those types even when you're raising events with the Vue. Another example would be, let's say you have a list with those posts, and let's say there are lots of them, and you want to scroll to some particular one, because normally TypeScript doesn't allow you or doesn't show you the methods unless he knows what kind of object it is. So this is one of the examples where you can go lower in hierarchy to some default types, and you can actually use the methods which are in plain JavaScript there. So in this case, just scrolling on some specific item which you before marked as a ref, which is connected to the Vue itself, but you are just saying what kind of object it is. So this is how you access lower JavaScript functions with TypeScript. This is kind of the more advanced example, how you create Vuex store via TypeScript. You can see now there is a state passed as a type to the Vue store. So in this part, state is an interface which you defined somewhere before, which describes your data. In my case, there is a shape of database, and there is a shape of some variables, which one of those variables can be like your language, date format, and so on. And you are using it then as a type here, creating Vuex store and creating mutations with those types again. So again, anytime, next time you access the Vuex store, there are some types, and you can gain again all the IntelliSense and all the information about them, all the properties and methods that are connected to those objects. One example also, which is good to know, you can use an event bus. You can create a variable in a store called bus right here, which can be Vue instance itself, and you can now use it for emitting events in cases where you don't need to mutate anything. just to want to raise, just if in case you want to raise some event, and somebody else somewhere in your program will react on this event. This is part here, which you are reacting on saving the post, which again accepts this post as a parameter. So you can again access all the information from the post here and do whatever the routine should do in your program. So this is also kind of a clever way how to create an event bus with the Vue. Okay. And last example would be kind of how you create a type safe event bus. If you want to be completely sure what object it is and get rid of those strings that you're using, you can create the object with those methods that are using those strings, which you at the end encapsulate. And right now you can, from there on, you can call the methods here with full IntelliSense, no strings, and full type safety in your program. So in this case, as on screenshot here, it knows all the methods on the bus, all the events on the bus that can happen, and all the parameters. So now you can, from there on, you cannot do any mistake in your program. So this would be for Vue TypeScript. I hope it gives you some inspiration, and you can check my GitHub. Thank you.